morning to you all. Thank God for the new day. With all warmth and affection, I greet and welcome each one of you to the class on commercial application. Please stay focused and cross the concept with first class finals and make sure that write down the additional points which I stress and repeat for your easy understanding and good performance, children. Thank you. Thank God. The learning objectives for today's class are as follows, children. We are into the chapter Communication in a Commercial Organization. Communication in a commercial organization can be also taken as business communication. So far, we have gone through the introduction part. I gave you the introduction with several examples, illustrations. Then we have gone through the brief history of communication, and I told you how the word communication got developed. Now we have the smartphone era. We got the information and communication technology grown to this extent. Then when we have also seen the meaning of communication, how this word communication derived from the Latin word communis. I told you how important is communication, significance through this meaning. We have also taken up three important definitions. We have gone through each of these definitions with greater detail and illustrations. Then we were now doing the main characteristics of communication. We have finished 5 out of 7. Those we have finished are the first one, 2 or more persons, two-way process, continuous process, pervasive function, mutual understanding. Now we are going to take up multiple channel and several media as the main important characteristics of communication. The sixth one for the day would be multiple channels. We have to start with this, multiple channels. What is a channel, first of all, children? Channel is nothing but a transmission media. It can be a radio channel or a computer network, etc. So you must understand this. Communication takes place through both formal and informal channels. Formal is official, informal is non-official. It may flow upwards, communication may flow upwards, downwards, and side to side, even diagonally, cross-functional. Students, please make a note here. There are 4 main types of communication. We have the verbal communication, we have the non-verbal communication, we have the written communication, and we have the visual communication. So communication channels play a very important role, like social media, blogs, information website, www website, a publishing tool. All these are very, very important. So you must understand that. The process of flow of information is very important, through which it moves. The transmission media people take to transfer information, transmit information. That is very important. What channel you choose, you must choose appropriate channel for the appropriate information, for the right information. So the process of information flowing from the lower level to the upper level is the upward communication. So what happens here? Workers will report to the superiors. Workers will inform the superior or express their ideas, feelings, even problems to the managers. Downward communication. Downward communication is nothing but children information flowing from the upper level down to the lower levels. Mainly it is mainly with the work orders, commands, instructions, even a kind of orders given, moved on from the superiors to the workers. Side to side. Side to side is also called as lateral or horizontal communication, where the information flow, the flow of message between people in the same level of an organization. We call it as team communication. And we also have the diagonal communication, which is cross-functional, which flows information flowing between different departments and different levels in the organization. So it is important that you choose the proper channel among the multiple channels available. If you are going through officially, we call it as official channel or formal channel. If you're going non-officially, we call it as informal channels. So anything which you choose is very important. Even videos, discussion forums, all this come under multiple channels. Several media. The next important characteristics of communication is several media. So I told you already, it is nothing but mass communication is practiced in multiple mediums, such as radio, TV, social network, billboards, newspaper, magazines, books, films, internet, etc. Let us see what this is. Communication includes all means which are used to convey meaning from one person to another, transmission of information from one person to another. It takes place not only through spoken or written words, even the wave of hands. Some people even waving the hands, nodding their head, wink of an eye, charts, symbols, etc. are all the means of communication. There are several medias which you can come across. So you must know that medium like TV, radio, print media, outdoor media, internet, etc. are the instruments to convey messages to one another, which means that we have got print media, newspapers and journals, we have the broadcast media, we have the TV and radio, we have outdoor media, posters, wallpapers, flex banners, all this banners. Then you have internet. Internet is very, very popular now. Communication has grown to that extent because of the word internet. So you must understand. There is print media, which is very popular also. We read books, we read magazines, we read newspapers every day. All these are very important. Internet, when you say worldwide medium, it's a global medium. Websites are available. We have got several media through which information can be conveyed between people, from one person to the other. Mass communication is practiced using multiple medias. Some people like to listen to radio, some people like to watch TV. There are social networks, billboards, newspapers, all this come under several media. So 7 important characteristics we have gone through, namely, first one, 2 or more persons. Second one is two-way process. Third is continuous process. Fourth is pervasive function. Fifth is mutual understanding. Sixth is multiple channels. Seventh is several media. With this, we will now move on to another important chapter in it, elements of communication process. This is a sure question, children. It's a very important aspect for your examination point of view. So, elements of communication, we also call it as communication process. The process of communication consists of following steps. This step should be followed in the order of this same order. There's a sequence. We start with the sender, we move on to message, then we go to encoding, then we go to channel, then we go to receiver as a communicatee. Yes, then we do the decoding, then we do the feedback. There are the 7 steps which you should follow in the order. You must not change the order. If you change the order, the process will not be appropriate or correct. So wrong communication, negative communication will be the result of disorder of these steps. The first one, the sender. We call it a source. Sender. Sender is a person, a group of organization which initiates the communication process. Who starts the communication process? It is the sender. Sender is also called the source, communicator. Sender or communicator formulates a clear idea that is to be conveyed. So we should understand. It is the sender who starts the message. The process of initiating conversation or initiating a communication process is from the sender. Please note down this, children. You must also know that communication, first of all, is a systematic and continuous process of telling, listening, and understanding. Again, I tell you, communication is a systematic and continuous process of telling, listening, and understanding. Communication involves a sender, the transmission of message through a selected channel or medium and a receiver. It is a two-way communication process concerned with sharing and understanding information in an effective manner. So you got a kind of a flowchart given in the textbook. It talks about the process, the communication process. How does communication process work? There's a diagram given to you in the textbook. We start with the source. The sender or the source is the origin of an idea or a message. It may be individual children or a group. Please note here, the sender conceives the ideas, prepares the message, selects the channel, and transmits the message to the receiver. The first step is the sender. Very important point to understand. Where does the message start from? From the sender, communicator. We call it the source of information. Second one is message. Message is a physical form in which an idea, fact, opinions, feelings, decisions etc. are expressed. It may take the form of an oral or written words or physical movements, gestures, non-verbal communication. Gesture is also very important. So you must also understand, message is nothing but it is any signal that triggers a response from the receiver. It may be a verbal, written, or spoken, or a non-verbal body language. Silence also is a kind of a message. Appearance, sound, sign, etc. All this come under message. Whether it's written, spoken, or gestural, non-verbal, all these are messages. Some people wink an eye. Some people may nod their head. Some people wave their hands. Some people will do some kind of scratch the head. Even scratching the head during the conversation also means something. It triggers a response from the receiver. So where is the response coming from? From the receiver. Who sends the information? Sender, source. The third important thing is encoding. So we have to encode. Encode is a process by which the message is translated into symbols which can be transmitted. Symbols should be such which the receiver could understand. So this is very important, children. So translation of an idea into message appropriate for transmission by the source or the sender is called encoding. Again, I repeat, please make a note. Translation of an idea into a message appropriate for transmission by the source or the sender is called encoding. While encoding a message, you should remember that what contains to include, how will the receiver interpret it or understand it, and how it may affect one's relationship. That is also very important. During a serious conversation or communication, I cannot use body kind of non-verbal kind of gestures or communication thing, which will spoil the, the intention of communication. Fourth one is the channel. Channel means the medium or mode which carries the message to the receiver, and it serves as a link between the sender and the receiver. Face-to-face conversation, telephone calls, letters, telegrams, fax, telefax, email, etc. are the channels. Just now I told you we are finished understanding the main characteristics of communication. One of those was multiple channels. We got we've got verbal, non-verbal, written, visuals. All these are channels. So you please remember, children, what is channel? Channel refers to the means through which the message travels from the sender to the receiver. The channel may be mass media such as TV, newspaper, radio, or interpersonal channels such as telephone. All the some come under interpersonal channel like telephone, email, correspondence. Selection of a channel depends upon various things, children. You must know that. Please make a note. The selection of a channel depends upon message to be communicated, importance of the message, number of receivers, availability of channel, cost effectiveness is also very important. What channel you use? Nowadays, everything boils down to money. You should be very careful about choosing a proper channel. Next comes receiver or the communicator. Soon after you select the channel, you must be send the information to the receiver. Receiver is a person, a group or organization to whom the message is directed. Receiver may be a listener, a reader or a viewer. Just now I told you the various ways there are human interaction taking place through communication. Earlier we have seen that. So receiver may be an individual or a group of individuals from whom the message is intended. That means what? From whom you get a response. Receiver is also very important. What is the other word for receiver used in communication? Communicatee. Sender is communicator, whereas the receiver is communicatee. Next one is decoding. The next step in communication process is decoding. You must understand this carefully, children. Decoding is a process by which the receiver translates the message into meaning from symbols encoded by the sender. Some people draw an heart, an arrow inside. Some people draw a tree with some flowers. Some people draw a bouquet. All that have got a different meaning. So every symbol has got its own meaning, interpretation. So interpretation by the receiver is also very important. How does the receiver takes it, understands it? The reply will be based on the receiver's understanding. So you must use proper kind of a way to decode the information sent by the sender. Receiver's education, perception, and past experience affect decoding. So if you're going to send kind of symbols to less educated people, they may not understand the way it is intended to be. So what happens? You will not get a proper response. So decoding refers, first of all, children, what is decoding? Decoding refers to the process through which a receiver translates the encoded message, symbols, etc., understands it, interprets it to form certain meaning. Only when he means what the sender sends, he will give a response. The next one is feedback. So feedback is a response or a reaction sent by the receiver. Response sent by the receiver is feedback. I repeat, response sent by the receiver is feedback. It verifies the message and it is the reverse flow of communication. Very important. Communication will never end without feedback. Feedback helps the sender to judge whether the message has been properly understood by the receiver and thus proves that communication is a two-way process. With the feedback, you can understand complete understanding of the meaning of the word communication, where it is derived from the Latin word communis. What is feedback now? Feedback can be a response. It can be the kind of reaction of the receiver to the message sent by the sender. Students, please make a note here. The response can be based upon a clear interpretation of the message or an understanding message, or how was the message understood, or sometimes you may understand. Suppose if the message is misunderstood or misinterpreted message, you will get a negative feedback. So the response is based on the clear interpretation of the message, or on a misunderstood or misinterpreted message, you get a negative feedback. With this, the communication process ends. What are the main steps in communication process, children? Communication process starts with source or the sender, then you have the message, then you have the encoding, then you have the channel, then you have the receiver as a communicatee, then you have the feedback, so you have the decoding. All the steps are very important. Again, I repeat, children, we have the sender or source, then you have the message, then you have the encoding, then you have the channel, receiver, decoding, and feedback. There are about 7 important steps. First of all, children, you must know that I can summarize by telling how that the process of communication or the transmission of message takes place. You start with the sender. Sender is the person that is delivering a message to a recipient. Recipient means receiver. Second is the message. Message. This refers to the information that the sender is relaying to the receiver. Third one is encoding. Is going to utilize symbols, characters in order to transfer his own information. Next one is channel of communication. This is the transmission or method of delivering the message, the way in which the message travels between the sender and the receiver. Next is decoding. Decoding, this is the interpretation of the message. Decoding is performed by the receiver. Then receiver. Receiver is the person who is getting or receiving the message. Then feedback. Feedback, that means in some instances, children, the receiver might have the feedback or a response for the sender. This starts as an interaction. It can be verbal or non-verbal. With this, the communication process ends. There are 7 steps, children, you should know. Communication process refers to a series of actions or steps taken in order to successfully communicate. It involves several components such as the sender of the communication, the actual message being sent, the encoding of the message, the receiver and the decoding of the message. There are also various channels of communication to consider within the communication process. This refers to the way a message is sent. This can be through various mediums such as voice, radio, video, writing mail, email, fax, or body language. The overall goal of communication process, children, please make a note, is to present an individual with information and have them understand it. The sender must choose the most appropriate medium in order to have the communication process work successfully. Next, we move on to the next important thing is relevance of communication for a commercial organization. Relevance of communication. Before I take up this, children, I will tell you the importance of business communication. There are about 4 points you must know. Please make a note here, children. I have not given it here. Please make a note. Business communication, in the first line of the chapter itself, it is said that business communication is an indispensable component of all management functions. Definitely. Students, you must understand how important is business communication or communication in a business organization. It's a very important aspect of the business world, communication. You must also know those, children. Communication that takes place in the organization between employees and the management team is crucial to business growth. So business communication has become an absolute requirement for all organizations for various reasons, because communication is the basis of organizational growth in terms of human and public relations. Communications widens the outlook of people, making them understand the business scenario. And also business communication enhances the overall relationship maintenance capabilities of the organization. All these are very important. And to conclude how important business communication, it is through business communication, the right information to the right person at the right time is provided so that the business process are on track at all point of time. So you're going to motivate every employee to participate in the development activities. So you should aim achieving business objectives. Business communication is very, very important. You must also know what should not be done in communication at workplace through business communication. So business communication is very important. It's an absolute requirement for all organizations due to various reasons. Without business communication or communication, children, organization will not see its business growth, business will not grow, and the goals towards which each and every member of the organization is working may not be achieved. So it is through business communication businesses grow and they develop. And another important point also, children, you must know, business communication is so important for effective decision making. No organization work without decision making. Business communication helps in maintaining public relations. Effective business communication eliminates the possibility of misunderstanding. So it also links the superiors to the subordinates and also helps in mutual understanding among them. That is why business communication is an indispensable component of all managerial or management functions. With this, I'll tell you, children, communication is very important in business world. Now we move on to the relevance of communication for a commercial organization. The first one, before that. Communication has become all the more essential due to the following reasons. I told you it is an inevitable, indispensable component. First of all, increase in size of business.